All right, cool. Let's see how well you guys did on remembering your unit circle. And another thing to keep in mind when watching me do these problems, your goal should be as fast as me by the time you take your AP test. And I'm not even kidding. You're not going to have time to draw a circle and do all this thinking through. There's just not that kind of time. So this is about as fast as you need to be able to go. Okay, so number 1, we're dealing with the sine of 11 pi over 6. So your brain needs to be thinking about where that is and the fact that it matches right here. And so the y value right here is 1/2. But since you're underneath, it needs to be a negative 1/2. So that's about how fast you've got to be able to think through it. Cosine of pi over 4, you shouldn't have to draw anything because it's first quadrant in the middle. That should be one of the 2 or 3 that are memorized and very, very quick. Number 3, the sine of negative pi. Okay, well, negative pi just means to go this way around the circle, but you're still going to end up at pi, and so the y value there is 0. Number 4, the tangent of negative pi over 4. Well, if this is positive, that's positive pi over 4, then this is negative pi over 4, okay? So we want to do the y over the x down here. Now, I highly recommend that you memorize the tangents of all the over 4s. No matter what it is, over 4, okay, it doesn't matter. It's going to be 1, and then you just have to decide, is it going to be positive 1 or negative 1? And since you're in this quadrant, it's going to be negative 1. Number 5, the tangent of 3 pi over 2. Well, 3 pi over 2 is down here. We're doing the y over the x. The y is negative 1. The x is 0. Anything over 0, guys, is undefined. Number 6, the sine of negative 7 pi over 6. Okay, normal 7 pi over 6 is there. So if I'm doing that in the opposite direction, it means that I'm going to end up right here. Okay, so I need to know, number 6, what did that want? The sine. So it wants the y value right here, and the y value right there is a positive 1/2 because it's going to match the one that's right there. Okay. Number 7, tangent of 5 pi over 3. Well, 5 pi over 3 is in this quadrant, and the over 3's are next to the y-axis. If this wants the tangent, oops, I need the y over x. So I need the y over the x, and on this one, the y is negative and the x is positive, okay? And so this is what I'm mathing through, and when I do that, I'm going to get negative root 3. All right, number 8. Hopefully this speed's okay for you. Tangent of 2 pi over 3, okay? Well, 2 pi over 3 is here. I need the tangent, which is the y over the x. It's going to match this one, so it's going to be 1/2. No, it's not. It's going to be root 3 over 2 over 1/2, and the cosine is negative in that quadrant, so it's going to be, once again, a negative root 3. Number 9, cosine of pi over 6. Okay, pi over 6 is here, and it wants the x coordinate. This should be memorized. Number 10, secant of 5 pi over 4. Okay, 5 pi over 4 is here, and the secant is 1 over the x value, which is 1 over root 2 over 2, which is 2 over root 2, which is root 2. So hopefully you made it through all of that. And it should be positive because we're talking about our x coordinate. All right, number 11, find each angle measure in radians. So the cosine of something is 1/2. So you're looking for any place on the unit circle where the x coordinate is 1/2, okay? So where is the x coordinate 1/2? Well, that happens at pi over 3 and then directly under it at 5 pi over 3. Number 12, the tangent is equal to a positive 1. Well, remember what I said earlier. Any of the over 4's have something to do with 1. And if you want a positive 1, that means you need first quadrant and third quadrant. Now, why do you need the third quadrant? Well, that's a negative over a negative, so it would make a positive when you actually math it out. Number 13, the sine of something is 0. Well, What is that something that has a y-coordinate of 0? The y-coordinate of zeros are on the ends over here, so that would be pi or 2 pi or 0. I don't know what you called it. Any of those would suffice. Number 14, the cosine of W is negative root 2 over 2. Okay, so W would be what? Let's see. That's an x value of that. So my x's are negative over here. So it would be 3 pi over 4 and 5 pi over 4. You know what? That just made me realize that I messed up right here. This should have been a 5. Because this is 5 pi over 4. That one's the 3 pi over 4. My bad. Sorry if I messed that up. Hopefully you guys are watching this video. You can go back and correct that. Hope I didn't mess you up too badly there. Alright, so these two are my answers for number 14. Alright, number 15. Solve the equation. So you've got a little step to do. Alright, I'm going to subtract 2 on both sides. And in order to be able to subtract 2, this is like 2 over 1. So if I get a common denominator, it's like 4 over 2. And then what happens is I'm doing 4 minus root 2 minus 4. So I end up with the 4's canceling, and this is the real question. And this is the exact same question I just did, number 14. Okay, so my answers will be the same. 3 pi over 4. And 5 pi over 4. Alright, so there's 15. Number 16 I can squeeze in right here. It looks pretty easy. 2 is equal negative 2 sine. Okay, so let me divide both sides by negative 2. And the sine would be equal to negative 1. Remember, sine is the y value. So where is my y, negative 1? Well, that's at the bottom of the circle down here. So that would be 3 pi over 2. Okay. Number 17. I'm going to start by dividing both sides by negative 2, and it would turn into this. So where is my y-coordinate, root 3 over 2? Well, that happens here and here. So your y's are both positive right there. So that would be pi over 3 and 2 pi over 3. And then the last one, I'm going to start by dividing both sides by 3 that's in the front. Okay, so what we have here is that the sine is equal to negative 2 root 3 over 3. And this one I might have to think about just a little bit. Okay, do I have that memorized? I do not have that memorized. This is super tricky. Let me think about this. Okay. I may not know the answer to this, but let me see if I can reason. Let me do a little math to see if I can reason this out. I'm going to multiply the top and the bottom by root 3 just because I don't know what else to do. And when I do that, it's going to give me, let's see, that'll be a 3, and it'll cancel with the bottom. So what I did this just to unrationalize it and see what that looks like. So if this is equal to sine, I don't have this memorized, guys. Even if I flip this and then I flip this side, it doesn't make any sense at all. Okay, I think there was a typo here. I think this was supposed to say secant instead of sine. I really do. I think that was supposed to be secant. So if you want to change that and then do this problem, then that would be fine, because this right here, this is hard to reason out. But if it's a secant, then what you're doing is you're saying, okay, so I'm trying to put 1 over the square root of 3 over 2, okay, or negative 1 over the square root of 3 over 2, is equal to secant. And then that lets you know that you are dealing with, you're basically asking yourself if this is the condition. You're saying, oh, okay, so what I'm supposed to be doing is figuring out when the cosine is equal to that. And if that doesn't make sense, we'll talk more about it in class. But like I said, I think it was a typo right off the bat. So if you just want to omit it, fine. If you want to change that to secant and then try to figure out where on the circle this becomes true, it's going to be the same as when this becomes true, and then you'll be able to get your answers out of that. That should be 5 pi over 6 and 7 pi over 6, but I think it was a typo. So this only works if it had been a secant, okay? Alright, so sorry about that, but that's what you needed to know for this week's homework. I didn't put any identities on there, because that's something that's better just to make up and take a look at as it comes along. Alright, thanks.